For more than 50 years, Southwest Airlines was built on this simple, almost sacred promise to its passengers. But then, in 2025, everything changed. So today, we're going to break down one of the most radical and honestly shocking transformations in the history of aviation.
All right, so let's get right into it. The airline that so many of us knew and frankly loved has basically torn up its own rule book and started over. And I'm not talking about a minor tweak here. This is a whole new identity.
And boom, this right here gets to the absolute heart of it. For 53 years, you knew the deal, right? You get on, you pick any seat you want, and your bags, they fly free. But now, well, now it's assigned seats and a $35 charge for your very first checked bag. All of a sudden, Southwest looks and feels a whole lot more like every other airline out there.
And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. The airline's own CEO, Bob Jordan, he called this, and I'm quoting here, the most significant transformation in Southwest Airlines history. I mean, when the person in charge uses language like that, you know this is a massive, massive shift.
So that's the big question, right? Why? Why would a company throw away a 53-year-old winning formula? I mean, this was their secret sauce. What made them a household name? Well, the answer is a crisis, a huge one that showed some serious cracks in the foundation.
And here's the thing, that super simple, no-frills model that we all loved, it was actually hiding a really critical weakness. It turns out that simplicity was a huge liability when things went wrong, like with a big storm. The whole system was like a line of dominoes, and their old tech just couldn't stop them from falling.
And this timeline really shows you just how fast everything happened. I mean, it all started with that now infamous holiday meltdown back in 2022. That was the spark. And from there, it was a direct line to them announcing this radical new plan in early 2025. Things moved incredibly quickly. Yeah, that meltdown, that was the big one. It was the catalyst. You had a winter storm that just spiraled into a total system collapse. We're talking almost 17,000 canceled flights. 2 million passengers just stranded. It was a brutal wake-up call that showed everyone just how old their tech was. And I think leadership realized right then and there that if they didn't do something drastic, they couldn't promise anyone a reliable flight. Okay, so they're facing this massive existential crisis. And what do? They don't just put a Band-Aid on the problem. No way. They launch this huge, high-stakes gamble on a totally new business model, one that's basically built on fees and new features.
So, what is this new strategy? Well, it's all about something the industry calls ancillary revenue. That's just a fancy way of saying they decided to stop giving everything away for free. The core idea was simple. Start charging for stuff, like bags and better seats, just like all the other airlines have been doing for years. And the whole plan really boiled down to two massive revolutionary changes. First, get rid of bags fly free. Second, get rid of open seating. These two moves directly overturned the policies that were the bedrock of the Southwest brand for half a century. It was quite literally a bet against their own history.
So let's talk about the money behind this gamble, because the projections were just staggering. First up, those new bag fees. Just from that one change, the airline expected to rake in an extra $700 million a year.
But hold on, that was just the beginning. On top of that, they projected another $1 billion just from selling assigned seats and options for extra legroom. Suddenly you can see, right? They're not just plugging a hole in the budget, they are building a brand new financial engine for the entire airline.
So you add it all up, and the whole transformation plan is targeting a massive $4.3 billion in extra earnings by 2026. Think about that. This wasn't just a fresh coat of paint. This was like tearing down the whole house and rebuilding it from scratch. That's the scale of the gamble we're talking about.
Okay, so that brings us to the billion-dollar question, right? Did this massive risk actually pay off? Well, when the third quarter financial results for 2025 came out, we got our first real answer. And honestly, it was a total shocker.
And just look at this contrast. It's incredible. On one side, you've got Wall Street's prediction. The experts looked at this whole plan and said, nope, they're going to lose money. But then, look at the actual result. Southwest didn't just squeak by. They delivered a solid profit. They completely blew expectations out of the water.
And get this, $6.9 billion. That was their operating revenue for the quarter, a new record. And what that number proves is that customers weren't just putting up with the new model, they were actively paying for all this new stuff. The bag fees, the seat assignments, things that didn't even exist a year ago.
And you might be thinking, okay, maybe they just got lucky one quarter. But no, this wasn't a fluke. Over the last 4 quarters, Southwest has beaten what the analysts predicted by an average of almost 60%. They are consistently proving the experts wrong.
And here's what might be the most important part of this whole story. They pulled off this incredible financial turnaround while also becoming the #1 most reliable airline in the country. I mean, think about where they were after that 2022 disaster. This was a massive, undeniable win. They fixed the money problem and the operations problem at the exact same time.
So, okay, the gamble paid off. Big time. At least in the short term. But this story is far from over. Because now, with a ton of confidence and a lot more cash in the bank, Southwest is looking toward an even more ambitious future. The transformation is really just getting started.
And just look at what's on the horizon. This stuff was completely unthinkable for the old Southwest. We're talking about airport lounges, actual first class or business class seats, and even long-haul international flights to Europe. That last one is huge because it would mean they'd have to get rid of their famous all 737 fleet for the first time in their history.
Which kind of brings us to the final big question here. The numbers don't lie, right? The strategy has been a massive financial success. No doubt about it. But in becoming more profitable, and let's be honest, more like every other airline, has Southwest lost the very soul that made it so special for 5 decades? That's the real question. Is this a new, better Southwest, or is it just another airline? I guess only time will tell.